Good afternoon. Do not think about sweet potatoes. Before I said that, I doubt that you were, but now that I've told you not to think about sweet potatoes, I'll bet at least one image of them has popped up in your mind. Because as soon as we talk about what we are not doing, what we don't want to do, what we shouldn't do, that is what our mind focuses upon. But when you talk or think about what you want to do, that is where your energy will go. It's good to keep this in mind in general, but I'd like to talk today about how we can apply this to the church. Life in churches in America has changed dramatically in the past decade. Churches will never be what they used to be, and that's true here at Old Union Church as well. Now, as soon as I say that church will never be what it used to be, you may be tempted to start thinking about the church's life in the past. You may fondly recall programs or events or groups or people that we no longer have. Thinking about the past of the church is like thinking about the sweet potatoes. That is where your mind goes. Thinking about what used to be means we are focusing our attention on half of the change process. We're focusing on what we are changing from, and the other half of change is what we are changing to. If you're making a change and you only look at where you are leaving, you have no idea where you're headed to. You don't know what you're going to bump into because you're not looking. And you're most likely to end up in a place where you don't want to be. For example, imagine a groom on his wedding day. His life is about to change dramatically. But what if, on his wedding day, this man was focusing his attention on what life used to be like for him as a bachelor, instead of thinking about what his life will be as a husband? Even if he wants to get married, even if he wants to be a husband, he is putting his attention on the past. And that means he will be much less likely to begin his marriage on a positive note. It makes more sense when we're making changes to pay attention to where we are going instead of where we used to be. Focus on the new thing, the new place that we're moving to. This is true in general, and perhaps in your own life you are in the midst of a change. But it is also true for the church. Things are changing at Old Union. This is not the church it was 10 years ago. Oops, there we go, thinking about those sweet potatoes of the past again. But Old Union is also not the church it will be 10 years from now. And we don't usually think about this as much. So I encourage you to hold a different image in your mind instead of the sweet potatoes of the past. Instead, think about what Old Union will be 10 years from now. Thinking about the future is more challenging because the future is largely unknown. Many things will happen that we have no idea what they will be. So it's more challenging to think about the future, but it is also more evocative and more exciting. Just think about all the possibilities that lie ahead of us. Think of what will be as God works His will through us. Because the God we worship is the God of the future. Yes, it is important to remember His wonderful deeds and faithfulness of the past. But these memories are most meaningful as they guide us and encourage us to the future that He is opening up before us. We often face the future with dread because we imagine the worst possible thing that might happen. But that's not how God sees the future. For example, in the book of Proverbs, 2 times He tells us, "There is a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off. There is a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off." Proverbs 23 and Proverbs 24. The sweet potatoes of the past are static. They will never change. But the future is dynamic and open and flexible. and we can be part of making the future what it's going to be. Even if you don't think you're going to be here 10 years from now for one reason or another, you can still be part of shaping the future of our church. So I invite you to consider and reflect. What future do you want? And what will you do? And what will God do through you to make that future happen? Would you pray with me, please? Lord, help us to focus our attention on what might be, what in your plan will be. Help us to look forward, not backward. Help us to think of what we are changing into, not what we are changing from. And as we go through change, Lord, help us not to do it by our own strength or wit, but through it all, may we seek your guidance and your power, your Spirit working through us to create the possibilities that you desire. Amen. Thanks for joining me. We'll talk again later.